Welcome 83K Nation. We believe that it's our spiritual and moral obligation before God and the world to become successful. That's why I am so passionate about empowering entrepreneurs and business leaders on how to start, grow, and scale their businesses. Listen, today we are going to go into session 2 of my Fast Business Bootcamp. You're going to love the 5 ingredients that I lay out to create a super successful business. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to subscribe. I want you to like, and please share this with all your family and friends. Let's go right into this second session together. A business is a commercial enterprise that produces a profit without me. Almost every business person will say, yeah, we're in business to create a profit. Yeah. They get part A, but most business people don't get part B. That you're building something that's not dependent upon you. Because if you build a business that's dependent upon you, you don't have a business, you really now have a glorified job. And a job that you have to work more hours on than the job that you work from 9 to 5. So you got to start right. How you begin determines how you win. You got to start with the right mindset. I am going to build a business that produces a profit, and my end result is that I'm creating a business that has the structures and the systems that are necessary that I can step away, and that business will generate revenue. People will make money for me so that I'm living off the profits of what others are doing. That's what you do as a business. So the biggest mistake that most business people make, and those who are starting out, the biggest mistake is this. Many small business owners, they work in the business instead of working on the business. That's the biggest mistake you can make. See, your job as the business owner is to work on the business. And here's what happens, right? Most small businesses, let's say Larry the plumber. Larry the plumber, he comes out of high school. He doesn't think he can go to college. So his uncle Jim has Jim's Plumbing. And Larry, he's a young man. He goes and he works for Uncle Jim at Jim's Plumbing. And he works for Uncle Jim for a few years, and he learns how to put sinks in and garbage disposals in. He learns how to take out washer and dryers and dishwashers, and he learns how to fix almost every problem that there is as far as plumbing goes, right? And he starts he starts giving people the invoice. It doesn't take too long for old Larry. Larry's giving an invoice for $500 to fix that sink and to rerun those pipes. And old Larry, he's giving an invoice for $500 for labor. And old Larry's only making $15 an hour. And he kind of says, oh, wait a minute now, $15 an hour, that only took me 4 hours to do that. He says, He looks at his wages. He looks how much his boss is bringing in. He says, wow, if I wasn't working for old Jim's Plumbing, I could have just made $500 in 4 hours. That's over $100 an hour. And he gets this lightning revelation from God, doesn't he? I'm going to start my own plumbing business, and I'm going to call it Larry's Plumbing. And so Larry goes out there, and now what does Larry know? Well, People got to know about my business. So what does Larry do? Larry starts getting on the phone. He calls his mama. He calls his uncle. He calls his aunt. He calls his best friend. He calls his haters. He calls his ex-girlfriends. He calls everybody and tells everybody, hey, I got Larry's Plumbing. And what happens after a week of making those calls? Well, Larry's going to get some jobs, right? Larry starts gradually getting some jobs. He starts doing a whole bunch of marketing. He says, hey, if you don't have plumbing, if you know anybody, tell them, just call Larry. I'm cheaper than Uncle Jim. And so all of a sudden some business starts coming in, and what does Larry do? Larry, he gets the business. Oh man, look, whoo, he's so happy. He gets some orders coming in, and then he starts going out. Now he's got 10 jobs he's got to do. So Larry starts working on his 10 jobs for the next 2 months, and he's making more money than he's ever made before. But at the end of 2 months, guess what happens to old Larry? The phone stops ringing. There's no more orders coming in. Larry's like, hey, what's going on? Where's the business? Well, Larry's kind of confused. Week 1 goes by, week 2 goes by, week 3 goes by. Larry's going, what's going on? He's man, I better call somebody, right? So what does Larry do? He gets on the phone. He starts going, hey, you got any plumbing work? You got any plumbing work? He starts marketing again, right? And what happens? He digs up some more. He gets a few more invoices. And what does Larry do? Man, I got to go take care of these 5 invoices. And 2 weeks later, he gets all those 5 invoices done. And he comes back and he looks at his table. There's no invoices. Do you see the cycle? And all of a sudden, the small business owner, they're on the teeter-totter. I got to market. When I market, now I got to go do the business. Now I'm doing the business. I'm not marketing. Now I start marketing. Okay, I start marketing. Now the business starts coming in, and it's like this big teeter-totter. And what happens is, because the marketing's not consistent, the productivity for that year and how much money Larry could make is limited. Because he's trying to do what? He's trying to do both the marketing and do the work at the same time. So what's going on with Larry? Larry's working in his business instead of working on the business. See, what we need Larry doing is we need Larry, hey! Larry's Plumbing's going to be the #1 go-to plumbing company in Fairmont, West Virginia. You know anybody? Come on, we're #1. We are #1. That's what we want Larry doing. And guess what? If he keeps marketing, guess what's going to happen with those invoices? Those invoices are just going to keep coming in, month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4. But what does Larry got to do? Larry's got to learn. He's got to learn how to plumb. Well, he's already done that, hasn't he? He's already done that. He spent his time learning the trade. What's the second thing he's got to do? Now he started his business. He's got to teach. He's got to teach his nephew, Sammy, how to plumb. So guess what? So that he can exit out of doing the work, and now all Larry's got to do is work on the business, work on the marketing, work on the branding, and then because he's focused on that, the invoices are coming in, the leads are coming in, and the work is being done by somebody else. This is the greatest mistake most small business people make. And the shift has to happen where the business owner stops working inside and comes and works on the business. I've done more coaching in this area, helping people scale. That's the first thing I do for any business. My first responsibility is get that owner to stop working in it so He can work on it. Now let me give you 5 ingredients you need to grow, scale, and succeed in business. I call them mastery ingredients. Number 1, you need to master the money game. Business is all about a commercial enterprise that produces a profit, money. That's what it is. This isn't church. This isn't about salvations. This is about what? It's about making money. That's what it's all about. So a lot of people say, well, go with your passion. Go with your passion. No, you need to figure out where you can make money at. Your passion will only take you so far. You can have great passion for something, but if you don't have any money, your passion can eventually just wear out and dissipate out. You need to find something that you can make money at. And if you can find something you can make money at, that money coming in all the time will increase your passion. But if you got passion about something not making no money, you're eventually going to quit and you're going to give up. We've got to fix the money problem, and we've got to understand that we got to earn it, we got to keep it, we got to multiply it, and we got to distribute it. Earn it, keep it, multiply it, and distribute it. Most people, when we talk about mastering the money game, most people think money is a complicated thing, and it's really not all that complicated. If you can add and subtract, you can figure out money. And we talk about the money game. Money is simply a form of exchange for you adding value to others and solving other people's problems. Money is simply a form of showing appreciation. That's all money is. You solve a person's problem, they exchange money for the problem that you solved. That's all it is. When you go out to eat and you have a waiter, and that waiter takes good care of you, you give them a what? What is that tip? What are you saying in that tip? I'm saying thank you. I'm showing you appreciation. I'm showing you, I really appreciate you hustling and getting those Cokes for me and getting that dinner for me. I appreciate you. That's all money is. It's not a big, complicated thing. And so money is a reward for solving problems. And here's the thing. The bigger the problems you solve, the bigger the reward. And so here's how we got to think, right? You can solve local problems. You can solve city problems. You could solve problems for the entire state. You could solve a problem for the entire nation. You could also solve problems for the entire world. The size of the geographical reach of the problem you solve is going to determine the amount of revenue and the amount of money you make. Jesus taught us this principle, really. He gave His life as a ransom for what? Many. God so loved the world. Jesus fixed a world problem for us. And so what we've got to think now in our generation is that at one time we could only solve problems for people on a local level. But now we can solve problems on a global level. Well, guess what that does for all of us? That makes our potential of how much money we could make at a much higher level. So we could actually make money quicker and faster than ever in the history of the world, because your business does not have to be limited by a 25-mile radius around your house or around your business. You can go all over the world. And so whatever you're creating today, you've got to think global. Because once it's a global solution, now you're talking about the potential of making billions. If you think local, you got a multi-million-dollar business. But the bigger that pie expands, the greater the possibilities. So, for instance, if Larry's got his plumbing shop, and if all he thinks about is his family and his friends within his little tiny city, guess what? Larry's going to be limited. Larry's going to make about $100,000 to $200,000 a year, and he's going to basically max out because he's limited by his area. So what does Larry need to do if he wants to grow and scale his plumbing business? This isn't complicated, is it? I mean, sometimes we try to make it like this is some big complicated thing. I bet who has the answer? How many of you have the answer? Just don't tell it. How many of you think you know what the answer of what Larry needs to do? Every one of you students here, you know what Larry needs to do. It's simple, right? He needs to move from just local to he needs to say, hey, how can I serve the whole state? Man, if I could serve the whole state. And this is where we've got to start thinking as believers, because God wants to do some really big things in our lives, but God is restricted by the size of our thinking. And God can want to do some big things, but if you keep thinking small, God's going to let you live a small life and let your business stay small. I'm a small business. Yeah, well, that's what you're going to be forever. You keep calling yourself a small business. Why would you call yourself a small business? My business is going to be huge. It's going to be massive. It's going to be global. Woo, there's the talk you need to have. One request we get from entrepreneurs is, hey, I love your books and teachings, but is it possible for you to mentor me? As someone who has served as a business coach and consultant for 30 years, yes, of course I want to help you. Since you visited this page, it tells me something about you. You're hungry to change your personal, professional, and financial situation. And that's the first requirement that I look for in mentoring people. If that sounds like you, I want to invite you into my private group, 83K Society. This is a tight group of seven-figure earners who are ready to scale above and beyond that, as well as people who are accelerating their way to achieving the spiritual and moral goal of success and financial wealth. We've had some amazing testimonies from people I've coached, like Martine, for instance, who just had his first $1 million day. Matt Anderson, a 30-year-old who bought a $27 million apartment complex. Justin Kane, who just had his first $83,000 month. There's Janice Rhodes, who finally published her first book. Then there's James, who made an extra $100,000 building his consulting company. There are two ways to learn: mistakes and mentors. Sadly, in the beginning, I was all alone, learning from a lot of mistakes. But when God crossed my path with millionaire mentors, that changed quickly for me. So I made a vow that when I became wealthy, I would become the person that I needed by helping others just like you. 83K Society is all about giving you access to three important things: mentoring to inform you, coaching to challenge you, and a community to support you. Here's what becoming a mentor of our 83K Society looks like for you. You're getting monthly coaching from me at our Success Symposium. You're getting access to our 1-year Millionaire in the Making training program. You're getting access to the Success Vault, a library of trainings on the 3 pillars of success: confidence, leadership, and wealth, valued at over $37,000. You're also receiving fly-on-the-wall interviews with kingdom millionaires and billionaires. And finally, you'll be automatically approved to join our 83K Society community on Facebook. You become what you focus on. If you want to become a baker, you need to study recipes and develop kitchen skills. In the same way, if you want to scale beyond 7 figures, you need to study the wealthy. Listen, if you feel like you're going around in circles, you have to change the circles you get around. Because the fastest way to change your life is to elevate your relationships. That's why my team has created the most incredible free gift offer ever. We are going to let you have a free test drive of this mentoring experience for the first 60 days. If you'd like to continue the mentoring after 60 days, we're going to give you an additional 50% off. The investment of this membership is $83 per month, and you will be able to get in for a limited time for only $39. This is a special one-time deal for you to get in to this special 83K Society. When you say maybe today, you can have everything I just told you about for 2 full months. Click the link below and I'll see you at the next Success Symposium. If we'll just look at money as a reward for solving problems. And a real logical thing is, someone down at McDonald's who's ringing the cashier solves a small problem so she makes minimum wage. The guy who does heart surgery on you makes millions of dollars because he's solving what? A really big problem. So the size of the problem determines the size of the reward. So we should be looking for big problems to solve in the earth. So you got to master the money game, and you master that by realizing you are a problem solver. A lot of people like to talk about Joseph, Joseph the dreamer. Joseph's greatest gift was not his ability to dream. Joseph's greatest gift was his ability to solve problems no matter where he went. When he went to Potiphar's house, he solved his problem. And because he solved problems, he took over his entire estate. Then you remember his wife came after him and he got thrown in prison for doing nothing. And now he's in prison. He can't get any lower than that, right? But he goes to prison and starts solving the problem for the prison warden. And what does the prison warden do? Promotes him. Because he solves problems. Then remember Pharaoh? Pharaoh had a dream. He's got a what? He's got a problem. Joseph went and he solved the problem by interpreting the dream. Joseph understood the power of solving problems. And it promoted him all along the way. So find a problem, find big problems, and say, man, God, give me wisdom to know how to solve this. Everybody knows that we have a lot of problems in the earth. Change is happening faster than ever. And because change is happening faster than ever, we have more problems. The quicker change moves in the earth, the more problems it creates. In the farming age, they didn't have many problems because life was what? Slow. Really slow, right? When you wanted to make money in the farming age, you planted a seed and you looked at it. For how long does it take to get a harvest? Anybody know? It depends on what it is, huh?
70 days.
Yeah. So,
7 years.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. It could be all kinds of time frames, but it takes a long time, right? It's not overnight. Plant a seed, you have to wait. Period of time, whether that's a month, 2 months, 3 months. You got to wait for the harvest to come. Then, if you got snow, now you got to wait till after winter to plant again. It's a slow life. But in the digital age, Things are moving faster. Money's moving faster. Everything's moving faster than ever. And if you keep moving slow, you're going to be in trouble. So this is why we've got to start thinking right about money. The other thing we got to master about money is what we think about debt, especially as business owners. Because a lot of times we come in church and we hear, that debt is like the most evil thing on the planet. Now, personally, I think that you want to live debt-free personally, but you don't want your business to be debt-free. There's a difference between good debt and bad debt. And see, what we do in the church is we label all debt, we put one big stamp on it, all debt is bad. And it's easy to pull out one or two Bible scriptures that say that, you shall lend to many nations and you shall not what? Borrow. Isn't that a great scripture? Well, how many Christians do you know that are lending to many nations? All we emphasize is to do not borrow. Well, where's the people lending to many nations? You see, that's like an extreme. You're taking a strict scripture and you're taking it to an extreme when that's showing you God's not rebuking people for going into debt. What God's saying is listen, here's the divine potential for your life. The potential is that I could bless you so much that you could lend to others. That's my desire, that I bless you so much. But none of us start out lending to many nations. Are you following me? That's like kind of ridiculous. Where do we all start off? At the bottom of the barrel. We start off needing help and needing support. And that's where Jesus said, He said, lend to those who what? Ask you. Wow. Now think. If it's wrong to borrow, it must be also wrong to lend. One can't be right and the other wrong. Does that make sense? That's stupid. It doesn't even make sense. That's like the Bible is talking against itself. And the Bible's not. It's just we get confused. Right? Because we do what Daniel Lappin said, and we take a witty proverb and we make it doctrine for life. And a witty proverb can work in one area at one season, but not necessarily in another season. So understand, as business owners, in the farming age and in the Old Testament age, money was backed by commodities. In our day, our money's not backed by any commodity. Money's backed by debt. Money is debt. Money, let's say that together. Money is debt. And when it dawns on you that money is debt, it changes how you think about debt. There's good debt, there's bad debt. And what is bad debt? Bad debt is debt you use for liabilities. Bad debt is you use your credit card to buy food with, haircuts, clothes at the mall. That's bad debt. That's consumer debt that you don't want to get into. But then you have good debt. What's good debt? Good debt is debt you use as leverage to create a passive income coming into your life. It's all about cash flow. Now, people who fight me in the Christian community on this, because we've got some people who are totally anti-debt, cut up your credit cards, it's the most demonic thing in the whole planet. Now, all you got to do is do a case study if you're a business person. right? All you got to do is go jump in your car, go down to everybody has these streets where all the shops that we all know are on one street, right? You got Home Depot, you got the Starbucks and all these places, right? You drive down the street, look at all these businesses, Apple, Microsoft, walk through the mall, see all the most popular stores, and you'll know what you'll find? They all have one thing in common, and guess what it is? They're all in debt. And they're all owned by multimillionaires. Because what do? They leverage other people's money. Because even as a business owner, you don't want to stay a business owner, you want to become an investor. What is an investor? An investor is someone who uses other people's money to create cash flow in your life. I was sharing this weekend that I'm in the room with billionaires. Billionaires have big dreams, huge dreams. And you know what the law of the billionaire club is? The law of the billionaire club is we don't use our money. They don't touch their money. Now, our logic would say, what? He's a billionaire. Well, he could just take his few $1 billion and put it into his project. They don't touch their money. The law of the investor is I'm going to get somebody else's money, and guess whose money that usually is? It's the United States government through the banks. They get money from the banks to put into their properties for billions of dollars. And once they invest that money, that investment produces cash flow that comes into their life. And now they got a business that they've invested in, but they don't have to do nothing. They're not working in the business. They're just the investor collecting on the money that they made the investment for. This is pretty high stuff. Most people don't realize how the real world, the church is like totally ignorant, really, of how the real world of business operates. And if you're a Christian businessman or a woman, you can almost feel guilty about, using other people's money to start, right? You got to start. You're going to need money. Most people do what? They say, well, I'm trying to save. Well, how long is that going to take you? 10 years? How much revenue have you just lost? Well, you've been saving your first $100,000 for that steak and shake restaurant you want to build. You just lost all this revenue by trying to save it when you could have just gone to the bank and got the money and borrowed it like everybody else, used it as leverage, and then you could have been cash flowing those little places will cash flow you $200,000 a year, $200,000 to $250,000. So for 10 years times 250, how much money is that? Huh? Was that a smart deal not to borrow that money? When it was available for 3% interest? You see, sometimes we just got to think a little more. But that's why I say you got to master this money game. You got to understand how the money game really works. And you have to handle debt with a sense of maturity. You have to be mature. But there's nothing wrong with using good debt to leverage, to start to grow your business. Because it's almost impossible for you to scale without borrowing money from somebody else. And it's not necessarily a bank. If some of you are looking to start a business, the first thing I tell people to do is go to your family. Hey, I have an idea. I have a dream that I want to build this business. For us, we have this academy called 83K Academy, and we help people build expert empires to be consultants, coaches, speakers, and authors. And we train them. I train them on a 90-day period, and I mentor them. I teach them how to do it. I help them develop their brand and iron out their brand. And I set up the whole framework for them. It's an amazing program. And what we find so many times is people, yes, I want to do it. Yes, I want to do it. And we tell them what the price is, which is very inexpensive. I mean, really inexpensive to start a business. And then they say, oh, I can't do it. I don't have the money. And it's like, what do you mean? Well, I just don't have the money. You know it takes money to... You haven't mastered the money game. It doesn't take money to make money. They said they couldn't do it. They didn't even ask me if I would finance them. You automatically just canceled yourself out. That's why I teach my coaches. You set your intention first. You decide you're going to do something. You're waiting for the money to show up. Then you're going to do it. That's not how it works, baby. You say, I'm going to do it. You set your intention. Then the how-to will come. Ask. I think the good old Lord said what? Ask, seek. You just quit. You quit before you even got started. I can't afford. I see it all the time. I said, well, did you call your mom and dad? No. You got a rich uncle? Yeah, a couple. Did you share it with them, your dream of what you wanted to build? No. And they say, well, it's wrong to borrow. Well, are you starting a business? Yeah. Are you going to believe that this business is going to generate money? Yeah. Would you borrow money to go start a McDonald's? Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you go find, the prophet told the widow of Zarephath, go borrow a bunch of vessels of oil. Go knock on doors. Hey, you got any vessels? Hey, you got any vessels? I need to borrow some. Not sit there like you're set. Where did he find her? This is my last meal. It's like, this is it. This is all I got. You had to change your thinking. I said, no, your answer is to go start a business. But you got to first borrow. You got to go borrow a bunch of vessels, start an oil company, go sell the oil, then use that oil to pay off your debtors. Wow. The solution was a business. Are you an aspiring Christian author, speaker, or coach? Then I've got something just for you. I'm opening up a few spaces in my private mentoring program, 83K Academy. In less than 6 weeks, I will take you through a step-by-step process to launch your expert business completely from scratch. You will get a brain dump of my 25 years in this business, from launching a multi-million-dollar brand, writing a bestseller, traveling the globe as a paid speaker, and even consulting billionaire entrepreneurs and CEOs. This is truly an opportunity of a lifetime to have me personally mentor you to discover your one word as we build your multi-million-dollar expert business together. To apply for one of the few remaining spots in the program, head over to 83kacademy.com and submit your application to qualify now. Godspeed, my friend.